Welcome back, our dear viewers, to our special coverage for the runoff for the first phase of the parliamentary elections in Egypt. Egyptians started on Monday voting in the runoff of the first phase of the parliamentary elections. 220 candidates are competing for 110 seats in the individual system. Voters are expected to cast their ballots for 2 following days in the governorates of Al-Giza, the New Valley, Al-Fayoum, Bani Suif, Al-Minya, Asyut, Al-Bahira, Sohag, Qina, Al-Aqsir, Aswan, Alexandria, and Matruh. And the first phase of the elections was held for expats from the 21st till the 23rd of October, and locally from the 24th to the 25th of October. To shed more light on this issue, we are very much delighted to have with us over the phone Dr. Maryan Gerges, a journalist. Dr. Maryan, good afternoon to you. Hello? Dr. Maryan? I do believe that Dr. Maryan is still not with us over the phone, and we continue for the vote, which is being carried under a full judiciary supervision and amid precautionary measures to prevent the spread of the COVID-19. The National Elections Authority announced the results of the first phase of the NEA's chairman, Lashin Ibrahim, who said that the turnout in the governorate included in the first phase was 28.06%, as almost 9 million out of 31 million eligible citizens to vote. To shed more light, we are joined now by Dr. Maryan Gerges, our journalist. Dr. Maryan, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you and your dear guests.
Dr. Maryan, to start with, how do you see the voting process of the runoff so far?
Yes, no surprise, this is the Egyptian state under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. We faced many challenges and many difficulties so far, and we passed and we succeeded. So no surprise that the Egyptian state has succeeded in arranging the electoral process in such a professional way, taking all the precautions against COVID-19 spread, and also on the level of the security measures. We can see that there wasn't any illegal acts from the votes, from the voters or the citizen, as mentioned by the Consul Ibrahim Lashin from the National Election Authority. So I think we have the ability now to say that the Egyptian state is very strong and can arrange any political process so far.
Yes. Dr. Maryan, to what extent does the state succeeded in the youth political empowerment during the past years, and how do you see actually the youth participation as candidates in the parliamentary elections from your point of view?
Yes, I think that the participation of the citizen has increased. Even we can see from the Senate elections, it didn't increase 20%, while in the Parliament or the House of the Representatives, we can see more than 29% participation, although the circumstances and although the pandemic. So I think the participation percent is so far very fine, and it's very important to be apart from this process. It's very important to share positively. I always say that the citizen has a weapon, which is his vote, the casting the ballot, which is the choosing, is a weapon to choose the best candidate who can represent him or her, and to speak his mind in the parliament, to talk about his problems, and even being apart from this process is being a part of the state.
Yes. What about the women in the parliament, Dr. Maryan? How do you see their participation? And now we are talking about 25%, which is the women's participation in the parliamentary, in the parliament. So how do you see that, and what does that represent for you as a female here?
Yes, of course, this is the new quota of the women in the parliament, the representation of the women. And I always say that this is the golden age for the Egyptian woman to regain her rights for all the past years that she didn't share, or she was not empowered politically or economically. So 25% is not all what we gain according to the referendum of 2019, but also we are aiming at 50% according to the Egyptian State Vision 2030. So it's more than 20. It will be more than 25%, and I think having women in the parliament or the House of the Representatives would reflect more about the problems of the females or the Egyptian female in the society, which will make us process more laws that will enforce the status of the Egyptian female.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Maryan, how important is that all voters, all eligible voters practice their political right of choosing their representative in parliament?
Yes, of course, this is a very important, although I can see also in the upcoming 5 years of the new parliament that there will be more challenges in front of the new parliament that it will be to face either on the regional level or on the global level. Also, we are being a bicameral regime by completing the elections of the Senate, and we have already a Senate and a new House, a new parliament, so we are having a bicameral regime, 2 rooms to make laws that will cope more with our problems and new legislation that can make our life better. Also, I expect that the 2 rooms will work in harmony to face all the challenges that we are having on the regional and the global level, like securing our borders, the new administration of the USA and the Libyan affair, the Palestinian affair, and also facing the Turkish illegal acts in the Mediterranean Sea.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Maryan, we are talking about 220 candidates which are competing for 110 seats in the individual system. From your point of view, is this election different in terms of parties, participation and individual system? How do you see this election, and more parties are taking part? How will that enrich the political life in Egypt and increase the effectiveness of the House of Representatives from your point of view?
Yes, even on the closed party list system, we can see that many parties and many levels of all the population are being representative in the House of the Representatives of the Parliament. For the individual seats, we can see that the competition may be very near to each other. The numbers were very near, so this means that there is really political competition, there is active competition on the Egyptian soil. So I think this will enrich the political life with many opinions, and we will have many visions or many angles to their problem. And of course, that will reflect, and it will be reflected on our problems and our ability to solve the problems.
Yes. Dr. Maryan, what issues should be tackled by the new House of Representatives as the government proceed with its successful economic reform and its developmental projects, which of course is hailed by all citizens?
Yes, we expect more maturity for the Egyptian state in the coming years on the executive level and on the legislative level also. And I think the government will be under the supervision of the parliament, or they will be on harmony with each other. So I think there are many issues that will be discussed in the parliament with the government on the internal level and on the external level. On the internal level, I can see many affairs and many problems to be discussed for the internal affairs and for the positivity of the Egyptian population.
Indeed, Dr. Maryan, what should the Egyptians expect from the upcoming parliament?
I think they are expecting more laws that can cope with their life and that can make their life easier and better. Like many things and many issues that were discussed so far, especially for the female and the youth, and more empowerment of the youth and more laws that can make our life better.
Indeed. Actually, the expats are voting and represented in the upcoming parliament. Why is the expats' participation in the political life important, and how does it serve the nation as a whole?
Yes, of course, sharing in the political life in the Egyptian state, maybe it's different from the years before. Before 2014, we were very passive and we were excluded from sharing this political rights. We were like guests in our country, but now we are no more guests. We are sharing actively and we are taking our opinions in a dependent way.
Yes. Dr. Maryan, what does selecting a new House of Representatives in Egypt mean for the world? Will it be seen as a sign of stability and moving further in the path of establishing a strong democratic system? How do you see that?
Yes, of course, in front of all, on the global level, of course, they are seeing that Egypt is proceeding and it's gaining more maturity on the internal level and on the external level. And I think, of course, there will be more cooperation with our parliament and the new administrative or the other countries.
Yes. How is that expected to affect the country's foreign relations as well as the flow of investments?
Of course, we are expecting to increase our investments, especially I see, and I always say that Egypt is the first place that any businessman or any investment or any invest can be placed on our Egyptian soil, because we are having more, we are removing many bureaucratic obstacles, and especially in the investment law. And I think we are the most stable country in the Middle East. Even after the pandemic, our economical indices were not affected like other countries.
Yes.
So I always say even the tourism returned easily after the first wave of the pandemic to the Egyptian state.
Dr. Maryan, now Egypt will have actually two chambers, the Senate and the House of Representatives. How will that affect the parliamentary life in Egypt? How will that affect the role of each chamber? And why is having both important from your point of view?
Yes, as I said to you, that the two rooms will work in harmony, but there will not be many collisions between them, because every room has its own specialization. So I think there will be more harmony, and this will be for our benefit. Also, I think that being bicameral, this will make the laws to be processed more quickly than before. It will not take too much time to process such laws.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Maryan Gerges, journalist, thank you very much for being with us and for your very precious input. And of course, our Egyptian abroad did begin to vote on Monday, voting in the runoff round for the first phase of the parliamentary elections. The Egyptians abroad send their ballots by mail to embassies and consulates instead of voting in person as part of the precautionary measures to curb the spread of the COVID-19. Of course, during the voting process, while the Foreign Ministry had urged the expats to log on to the official site of the NEA and to make sure to submit all needed documents in their mails. Our dear viewers, will go to a short break, and after that we will be back to continue our special coverage, so stay tuned.